Bam, we're live. Caleb Beaver from a RV somewhere in the United States doing God's work. Angelo Chico, firefighter, CrossFit Games athlete, Saxon Panchik. You own a gym, Saxon?
Not anymore.
Owned a CrossFit affiliate. Came out of the same
consumer athlete, owned an affiliate, mentor of an affiliate with my brother, coach. I've seen it all.
Come out of the womb with the same womb as two other CrossFit Games athletes. You guys shared the same womb. One of them at the same time. Fuck, that must have been tight.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. Don't send your hate DMs to Spencer. This is Saxon. Look at the fucking name.
You can send me
thanks guys for having you on. What a time. We had the CrossFit Games, crazy wild situation, obviously, with the death of Lazar Jukic, one of the athletes, best guy ever to come out of Europe for a long time, three-time champion over there, and then in both you guys competed in the games this year, and then the startling news to me and I know, and by the way, Saxon may look young, but because of his old ass brother, I've seen Saxon at the games since the dawn of time. He used to be Scott's bag boy before Scott became his bag boy, and then so Saxon's been around forever. And then Angelo has a crazy historical knowledge himself and competitive experience. You competed as a kid too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then obviously everyone knows when Scott Vandersloot's not around holding Rich's nuts, Angelo steps in.
Yeah. So, well, when we're both there, I get the right and he gets the left usually.
All right. Saxon, thanks for coming on. And Saxon, not that you guys needed that introduction, but it's good. So Saxon, you competed the entire games?
Yeah, I competed the whole games. I think we were talking a little bit before, and I've seen a lot of different CrossFit games. I started CrossFit back in 2008 as a consumer. I didn't even know what the CrossFit games were at the time. I was just a kid going in an affiliate looking to beat my brothers. But that's kind of where I started. I've been to the games in some capacity since 2012. Whether that was cheering my brother on, coaching him, and then eventually competing at the CrossFit Games. So I feel like I've seen quite a bit, although like you said, I may look young, got a little beard coming in, but I've been around for quite some time and I've seen a lot of different things. So yeah, this year was very interesting. And I just kind of want to speak on some of those things that we saw. Yeah. Bring a little more light to things. I feel like this is a very hard time for anyone to speak because there's so much criticism. No matter what you say, no one's going to say the right thing. People are going to hate you and some people are going to love you. But at the end of the day, my number one thing is I want to see this community come together. I know, and that's why I fell in love with this, is not because of the CrossFit Games, but because of what's happening inside an affiliate. And when you get to the CrossFit Games, that's just amplified so much more. It's like you have every single affiliate just like surrounded around you if you're competing. And I want to be able to bring that together more. And I want to be able to see us come together and stop with the hate and figure out and put all the facts out there, let people come up with their own opinions. Because at the end of the day, there's loud people out there putting their opinions out and it's not everyone's opinion. So people are going to probably hate what I say. That's okay. Some people are going to like it. That's also fine. I just want facts and that's it.
I hear you and it sounds really good, but what about when you ask for someone to step down, who invented the games, who's been here forever, who's been here longer than anyone, who's done so much for everyone, whether they know it or not, and built that, it's gonna cause a division, right? I mean, it's
absolutely.
It's you're right. Part of me, I don't want to be mean to anyone, but at the end of the day, I feel like we're in this arena. We've stepped into this arena now. Like someone's like, hey, we're coming after Dave.
Yep.
And we're coming after Dave with this organization called the PFAA. And man, as much as I'd like to, I agree with you. Those days were fucking awesome. You know, the Invictus Days and the Love Tunnels and you know, all the Panchiks there with their mom and dad, and you know, they all work out together in the affiliate, and the camera pans over them and they're in the fan stands, and yeah, that shit was great. But this is a tough time. It's gonna be a tough time to get through.
I think, you know, I don't think the CrossFit Games, I don't think anyone expected them to be what they are today. It kind of turned into its own beast, and that's okay. But, you know, if you go back and you look at the original days, it was just people throwing down to throw down and want to beat each other, you know, at the ranch in the dirt. And, you know, that's kind of how it started. And it turned into this thing where more people are coming in, more opinions are going to come in. And, you know, at the end of the day, we need to remember Dave started this on the ranch, you know, like he created, you know, essentially the CrossFit Games with Greg Glassman. And I think I find it very unfair for people to come in and want to push him out without all the facts.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it just was it was too quick, too early. And I think that they even doubled down on the fact that I guess in the coffee pods and wads, that they think the timing was fine. And I don't really understand how you could say that without knowing, like, well, I guess they don't care to say that, oh yeah, this was Dave's fault 100%. It almost doesn't even have anything to do with that. That's honestly like the biggest issue, is it doesn't really even stem from the whole issue at the games, you know, with Lazar drowning. It doesn't have to do anything with that. It
started back in COVID, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I've seen it since then. And
Seen what?
An agenda.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, an agenda. You know, when I had conversations with the PFAA, I asked, you know, how many people, because I didn't vote on this letter going out. So that's the fact. Yeah. You know, I asked how many people before this letter went out, how many people? I recall 7, we might say 9, 7 to 9. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. 7 to 9 people, 7 to 9 people voted on that going out that I was made aware of.
There was 79 individual athletes at the games this year.
So wait a second.
We're upset.
When did you find that out? You found after it went out, you made some inquiries, and you're like,
I found that out this week.
After the letter went out, after this thing that's
after the letter went out. And there was conversations, don't get me wrong, like there were conversations with large groups of people, training camp coaches, you know, coaches in general, agents, athletes of all levels, but no one was made aware of. I mean, I'm sure they talked about that on a Zoom call. I was on one of the Zoom calls, and it was just so much, in my opinion, like a lot of things that weren't about the safety in finding the best way to move forward, you know, and taking care of Lazard and to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Like, I've just seen so many different agendas and so many different people speaking different things that, you know, what's this really about?
Yeah.
You know, like if you're going to say, oh, you know, 7 to 9 people voted on this. This was the entire board. It was unanimous. Okay. But yet, you know, people were upset that 78% of people voted to continue to move on with the games. And that was sent out to every single athlete. But yet you go and do the same thing. Like, that's where, you know, I'm going to draw the line.
Meaning CrossFit took the time to get everyone's vote on what to do, but the board that's supposed to and you know, if I'm mischaracterizing it, sorry, but there's also this picture being painted that the athletes weren't checked in on, right? On one hand, they're saying they weren't, and then but yet the board that claims that they represent the athletes, the PFAA, they only checked in with 10 or less.
Exactly. It's exactly the opposite of what it sounds like to everyone, because I did hear what Brent said, that in their little group meeting, that he said, maybe this is true, you know, I wasn't there, but he said, you know, Dave, you can't say that this was in collaboration with the athletes because no one's in the right frame of mind to be making this kind of decision. But the next day he went and said that it was in collaboration. What was he supposed to say? He talked to all of us, we voted, and everyone had a say in, yes, I do want to compete, or no, I don't want to compete. So like when they asked me,
and here's the thing, I was cool. Like at the end of the day, you know, we had the conversation of Brent didn't want this coming from the athletes that we collaborated at the games. So you're telling me you want CrossFit to hear you out, and then when it comes time to make the decision and everybody had a say in it, You don't want them to say that, oh, that was collaboration, that, you know, we had a conversation about it. Like, how does that even make sense?
Yeah,
You
by
know, like,
sending out a poll to all of us and letting us vote on it, and us having, you know, you were there. It was hours of us. Like we were there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and at a certain point, I'm like, I don't even know if we're going to compete if this keeps going on. Like, we just need to come to a conclusion, and then, you know, we
and
split
how
off
many of
into
those
small
people stood up?
groups.
And this is my thing. When shit gets hard, how many of these guys stood up in front of 500 of the people?
Yep. Yeah. It
Like,
was, I
that's
only
like,
remember you and Cole.
like Dave stood up and took it.
Yeah,
Like, he took
immediately.
it, you know, and yeah, people were coming after him. I get it. Like, yeah, people had the right, you know, for what they understood at the time. I understand why people wanted to come after him, you know, and have those, but it was about having the conversations. But like, none of these guys stood up of like, oh, we told you this, we told you that, you know, like,
Yeah.
but then we all continue to compete, and then all of a sudden the games finish, and we told you this and we told you that. And that's the other thing I want to get into is the stuff that the conversations that we had about the PFAA and the games was about heat acclimation. Yes, absolutely. But it was how many events are going to be outside. Okay. And I mean, I could pull the statement up, but like, how many events are going to be outside? And CrossFit's rebuttal was less than you saw in Madison or Carson.
Yep.
When was this? When was this? A month before the games?
Like, I want to say back in June, maybe July.
Yeah.
Okay. So even before the semifinals.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the exact date.
Okay. I think the semifinals were the end of May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early June.
Yeah, end of May.
Okay.
So where was I going with that?
What is that? I'll remind you, but let me ask you this. I'll remind you. Where do these conversations of heat take place? You're talking through email.
So I'm not like, that's an email that I received.
Okay. And so you're saying that PFAA shared with you as a member of the PFAA the conversations they were having with CrossFit, trying to get information of how many events were going to be outside.
Right. And they said less than, and here's the thing. If you put the facts together of what it is, okay, less than Madison. Okay, well, there was about 4 to 5 events in Madison, which is going to leave you with about 2 to 3 events outside. First week of July, 4 weeks out from the games, we learned that we were going to do a run swim. Exact distance, exact swim. So, okay, we knew that we were going to be doing a log event outside. That was 4 weeks out. 3 weeks out from the games, we learned that we're going to have Friday night lights at night, 1,600 meter run, and then a sprint. Okay, so that's 2. So, like, there was plenty of time for heat acclimation. And really, I would say a lot of that was like the financial burden that athletes are going to have to spend to get to the heat. Like, we knew it was in Texas. We knew it was going to be hot, and we knew that there were going to be some events outside.
Yeah. You knew that as soon as they have announced it. You can just assume if you have been to the games, or even if you watch the games at all, then you can understand, okay, if we're in Texas, we're probably going to go outside. And then they said exactly, we are going to go outside for less, but we will be outside.
And he gave the times, by the way. We knew Friday night lights with the sun would be down. And he did announce that the tentative scheduling for the run swim was 7 a.m., but they might start it as early as 6.
Yep.
And as you guys all know, when we got there, it was dark and the sun was not out. And
so I mean, that's where I'm like, okay, well, now we're pointing the fingers. We said this, we said that. Okay, and we can put a little puzzle piece together to understand, okay, well, this is what we're looking at. So, like, for me, I felt like we had all the information that we needed to. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, throughout all of the other stages of the CrossFit season or the CrossFit games, we know the workouts. You know, the open, we have 4 or 5 days to go through it. You look at quarterfinals, we have an entire weekend to go through it. Semifinals, we had 5 weeks to go through it. The unknown and the unknowable, you know, and here's the thing. I would say we probably knew, I don't know, maybe 50 to 60, maybe 70% of the workouts for the weekend. Like, at some point, like, that's what we're signing up for. You know, we're signing up to not know workouts. And, like, to me, it just feels like people want all the workouts to go out so we can prepare and do this and that. But, like, it's not what it is. CrossFit. Yeah. You know, that's everyday life. You know, that's why we train. That's why, you know, I have a 60-year-old in the gym that's training that, you know, so that they can get out of bed, or, you know, if you have something that happens outside, you know, someone flips their car, you got a group of CrossFitters that can come flip the car, like the unknown and the unknowable. That's what we train for.
Yeah.
And on that note, I do remember at least a half dozen athletes that I interviewed when the semifinal leakouts Take 3. When the semifinal workouts leaked, they were upset, not that they leaked, but because then they were going to be tempted to do them so many times and possibly incur injury. So
I mean,
you can't have it both ways, right?
People train stupid, in anything that you do. Like, like if you understand, like I would like to think if you're going to the CrossFit Games that you have an understanding of programming. If you don't, you should probably take your level 1.
Yeah. That'd be a good place to start.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'll go off on this. I'm not saying everybody on the PFA doesn't have their level 1, level 2, level 3, because I know people that signed off on that do. But I will say some of the people probably don't, and I know they don't. Like, how can you want CrossFit to listen to you?
Pat's proud that he doesn't have his level 1. I think.
But here's the thing: how do you expect CrossFit to listen to you if you're not even willing to listen to their methodology?
Yeah,
right.
Like, it works both ways. So, like, that's at the end of the day. Like, maybe they don't understand the methodology. Maybe they don't understand. I'm not going to fault them for not understanding CrossFit.
Yeah, the unknown and unknowable. And like, I know I speak for Saxon and I for sure when I say that we like the games so much. We want to continue to compete in the games because that's like our favorite part. Like, the other stages are just an opportunity to get to the games and have a chance at that unknown and unknowable. And that's like, I look forward to that part every year.
That's why we train. Like, that's why we train. I want you to stump me because I want to know where I can go get better. Like, of course, like if you have the answers to the test, yes, chances are you're not going to be exposed. It's going to come down to more like a semifinal race where it's coming down to just milliseconds or like who has
strategy.
More on a machine. But like,
let me play devil's advocate here. Maybe that's why some people want to separate the sport from the methodology so badly.
Yeah, well, maybe they should go start it on their own.
Yeah, but exactly. I think it, like what Saxon said, it's one and the same. Like it's one and the same about, you might have to go help somebody with, you see somebody on the side of the road with their car flipped over. Now you've done tire flips in your affiliate. Now you're like, hey, there's a group of us. We can go flip that car over and get that person out. Like, it's the same thing for the CrossFit Games, just at a little bit of different level.
And I'm sure you use your fitness in the unknown and unknowable every day you're at work.
Yeah, Angelo. Exactly.
David Wynn, restore athletes' trust in CrossFit sport. Any athlete that doesn't trust the sport they want to participate in is welcome to refrain. So I hear that, and that makes sense, but is a little bit, what about the pushback that like, hey, like someone wrote in my comments, hey, how can you think they don't care? And I'm like, wait a second. I never said that they don't care. Like, I think that the people who fucking give their kids vaccine 1 hour after they're born, I think that they care, even though they're injecting their kid with big pharma drugs 1 hour after the kid's born, forever changing the immune system. Do I think that they know they're fucking the kid up? No. The doctor told them, hey, you want your kid to get a venereal disease, and the parent's not thinking and they take the shot, right? That's the one that they give you right when you're born, which is bizarro world. So I don't think we disagree. Well, let me ask you that. Do you disagree that when you say these agendas, one of the agendas might be that they want to make the sport better? You think that there's other agendas?
Yeah. I mean, everybody has an agenda. Like, I had an agenda to come on here and spit the facts. Like, you're not doing something if you don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
But I think we take it carte blanche that their agenda is to make the sport better. So
it's not to make the sport better. It's to make it how they want it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things that are going to give them more security. Like, here's the thing is like the sport didn't start off to create a career for athletes. Like, that's not why it started, like it turned into that somewhat, but like, you go back and you look, and I mean, you even heard Rich speak on it in one of the documentaries, if I recall, but he said that if he didn't win the games, he was going back to the fire department. Like, like that's just, to me, that's it, and I think it's turned into this thing that can create more money and people see opportunities and potential. But like, at the end of the day, like Dave created it, Greg Glassman created it, and how they want that to be is how they want it to be. Like, what's to say if this turns into something so big that, it becomes too much for anyone to handle?
What Dana White said recently in the last year, being a UFC fighter is not a job, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, that's
it. I thought that was pretty apropos for what we have here in CrossFit too, maybe even more so, right? Yeah. Hey, dude, this isn't a job, it's an opportunity. And I think that there's some confusion there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think so too.
Being a firefighter is a job. Owning a CrossFit gym is a job. Being a CrossFit athlete is an opportunity to become the fittest person alive, but it's not we're not there. It's not a job.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, here's the thing, if the young athletes that I've spoken to, that like, even at the games, they wanted to continue, like these young athletes, and I'm kind of like in the middle of that pack, but like, we fell in love with it for what it was. We fell in love with it for who was doing it at the moment. And,
yep.
I just feel like a lot of the people that are talking are people on their way out looking for a career, because at the end of the day, man, like I look at this, I've given everything I have to CrossFit. I've been doing it since I was 10 or 11 years old. I didn't go to college because I wanted to be in an affiliate, because I wanted to learn to become a better coach, to become a better athlete, to change lives, and like when I'm done competing, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have a degree. I gave everything that I have to CrossFit. And you have a lot of these people that maybe they don't understand that and what their plans are after CrossFit. And maybe they're trying to create a plan for themselves or an exit strategy. But like, if you look at a lot of these young athletes, like they fell in love with it because it was the unknown, the unknowable, because how the games were ran and how we were challenged. And at the end of the day, I just feel like a lot of people talking are either retired athletes or people on their way out or people that didn't make the games. And they're trying to figure out a way to create longevity in it. And I just want to make sure that the methodology and what made CrossFit so special doesn't get lost in that. And, for me, I'm going to make sure that I go to ends meet to make sure that that is held in place.
Hey, earlier you guys said something about in 2020, it started their agenda. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, I would say, back in 2020, we had a lot of calls. There was a lot of plans on different structures that we could move forward with the season. And Greg Glassman, obviously, and I had conversations, like when Greg put his thing out and people were upset, I told specific people on the PFAA, hey, if you don't like it, go tell Greg Glassman that. Have the conversation with him. Hey, we want you to sell. We think you're no longer fit for this position. Have that conversation. Greg wouldn't sell. What happened? Greg sold. First message I sent, hey, Greg sold. Did you see that? Oh, I thought Greg wasn't going to sell. You know what I mean? Like, well, maybe you should step up and have the conversation, and that leads to everything today. It's like all of this stuff is behind emails and this and that. Like I said, if you have a problem, then roll up the HQ, say, listen, we're not leaving here until we come to a solution and we get it in an agreement. We have a contract. Like, I want to see this sport succeed and I want to take care of the athletes. That's the conversation that should be had, not putting it out to try and get the community. And I don't even want to say community, but the division. They're creating more of a divide.
Yeah, exactly.
Of it. Like, there's no reason to divide anymore. Like, let's come to a freaking solution.
I don't understand why this should have been the biggest thing that brought everyone together. That this is such an opportunity. Like, it made me think of, I Saxon and I were really young for 9/11, but it makes me think of like how 9/11 was, where everything like came together because, we went through this huge tragedy together. And as a CrossFit community, it just is it's way worse after the fact, when like, that's not how it should be. It should be, okay, we need to get together and come up with a plan together and not call for someone's head who's at the top of it, who we don't like, use it as an opportunity to get rid of somebody finally. Like, that's just not the way. It's not.
And just to add on to that, and I'm sorry, I'm hot tonight, but like, people saying
hot Saxon. I like hot Saxon.
But for people to say, we're going through Hell Week and buds and this and that, you guys are acting like Dave's telling us to jump out of a helicopter in the middle of the woods and make it back to the venue. Like, at no point, for me, at no point, one, did I ever feel unsafe or felt like we were asked to do something unreasonable. Like, I felt like that's never happened. Two, from 2012 to present day, I have yet to see anyone stand up in an athlete brief and say that they have some type of concern with outside of movement standards. Like, if people felt unsafe at any point, then like, speak up, like, you look, Scott spoke up about his foot and he went to ends meet to make sure that those ropes were cut. Like, he showed up next week at the semifinal and said, these ropes need cut. And what happened? They were cut. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's something that you believe in, then step up and actually do something about it. Stop trying to get people behind you to back you. Like, step up and just do it. Be a leader.
You know what their excuse is? You'll be blackballed, Or in the classic example of that is look at Matt Fraser had the most contentious relationship in the history of CrossFit with Dave, and he's filthy rich and he has 5 titles, so it seemed to work out for him. And he did 2 open announcements, and so I call bullshit on that. I will tell you 2 times. I do know of 2 instances where athletes did have concerns in with the water. They told the HQ staff ahead of times, and they were both given escorts on the swim. So it's kind of to prove your point that if you do speak up in certain situations,
I'll say this. Right. I'll say this. You know, at the athlete brief, no one had any concerns. The only concern was people didn't want to wear swim caps. Like, you know, like I that was the only concern. But like, if people were worried about the temperature, like nobody said it then and there when we were going through everything. Like, of course, like I didn't, like, here's the thing. I didn't know that about the water temperature. If it was over 87, like, you know, XYZ, but like, you know, like if nothing happened, would anyone have mentioned that? Like, you know, at the end of the day, it's easy to go break down anything in the facts after of like, you know, well, we could have done this, we could have done that better. But like at the end of the day, like, let's just come up with a solution and let's make sure this doesn't happen again. And let's get our community to rally behind each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually get the interest of what everyone thinks, and not say you speak for everybody, and get a small group of people that you all agree with in an echo chamber and come out with these lists of demands. When, I mean, you have plenty of athletes just like Saxon who don't agree with it and want to find a solution together that we all can agree on, and not have a certain group come out with something that no one agrees on.
And I'm not hating, like, here's the thing. I'm not hating on everything the PFAA is doing. Like, I respect some of the things they're doing. I don't respect them calling for Dave. Like, that's the one thing. Like, okay, I can see some of the stuff that you were saying and what you wanted to get across. I get that. Okay, let's move forward with that. But to go after someone before, like, people 100%. Even know the facts, like, they act like they were sitting in the room and they watched him create protocols, and, you know, it was all on him. Like, you know, you don't think Dave feels horrible. You don't think, you know, anyone else there feels horrible. Like, I don't know. That's the one thing that I just don't understand is, like, you're going after one person for one thing, but like, it just, to me, it feels like, and, you know, the information that I've gathered is it's for a greater purpose to push an agenda. And, you know, I'll go through this. I talked to some of the members of the PFAA, and I asked them, I said, what do you think of?
And are you a member too, Saxon? Are you a member?
I wouldn't say, I'm not a voting member, like, as to like those 9 people.
Are you a member, Angelo?
No, I'm not eligible.
Oh, okay.
So
you're not really? You're not eligible?
I mean, technically maybe. I think you have to be. It's based on individual success in the last 24 months. I think.
Okay.
For the most part.
Okay. Sorry, Saxon. Go ahead.
So I want to say this. I'll say, you know, I asked him. I said, "Did you see the Masters workouts or the teen workouts?" No. Okay. Well, like, are those guys not part of the community? Like, people are worried about the SoCal workouts of what they're going to do. Okay. Well, what about the Masters and teens? You know,
doing the CrossFit games. Yeah.
You're not going to review that. But yet you go and you look on social media, and who shows up for the Masters competition all weekend? Dave and Don. You know, they're catching all of this heat right now, and they still showed up while everybody else is sitting there calling for their heads. Like, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, don't say that you're looking for one thing whenever you go and you do another and you can't back up what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you could argue that the teens and the Masters need more supervision than the individual and the teams, for sure.
Yeah, you could.
It would be very.
I mean, I think everybody deserves the equal amount of attention. You know, if everything's being done the right way, it should be equal across the board. We're taking care of everybody,
not just taking care of ourselves.
Angelo, did Cara Saunders' husband throw insults at you?
Yes, and that's all I'll say.
I just want to address this KF person because I'm going to get into these comments. KF, I would love to know if you were actually at the games and you're asking about actual legitimate lifeguards. Were you there?
Just so you know, he's one of the few trolls we have in here.
What's K? Karen?
Probably it's probably Karen. But
KF knows a lot, man.
I haven't seen what KF's posting, but I saw Hiller in there telling him to shut the fuck up. And for Hiller to say that, he doesn't usually talk like that.
He called him a retard too. So hey.
Oh wow, yeah. Usually,
that's
they act like these weren't lifeguards. I'm just saying.
Saxon, you're forgetting he's the director and didn't hire lifeguards. You don't know that. You don't know that. And come on, bro. No, you come on, bro. And you're too emotional. Saxon, you're not emotional at all. Don't even listen to him. He's retarded. that means it's, yeah.
That's why he's sitting there behind KF and I got Saxon Panchik under my name. I'll put my full name on there.
Yeah, bitch.
But like,
oh yeah,
that's it. Where are their lifeguards, Saxon? Real ones. Let's hear it. Yes. Okay, we'll move past it.
Okay, go ahead. And then I got some questions.
Hit me with the questions.
So, this is the first time I'm hearing this. So, I want to go back and review what you just said, what you guys were just saying. You and Angelo telling me this went out. I want to work up to the agenda thing, and I can't believe I didn't think of this before. This went out, and it wasn't shown to. Neither of you had seen it before, and you're a CrossFit Games athlete who competed this year. So you're one of the 39 for sure, Saxon. And then you're a CrossFit Games athlete who competed on the teams, and you were in that private meeting that happened, the Go Forward team that decided Angelo. So both you guys were part of that Go Forward team. And then this letter goes out and calls for Dave to come down. Now, if I'm hearing you guys right, this is what I'm taking from you guys. If the goal was, which you like, you've said you like Angelo, to make CrossFit better, meaning better workouts, safer, more fluid, whatever, even though you have no problem with how it's gone in the past. But if the goal is to make it even better, you're fucking game. Why mix it with this other number 3, have Dave Castro drop down,
right?
Be fired? You're saying that, like, hey, if the agenda is to make everything better, why did you make it with this other harebrained agenda that's just going to cause division? Why didn't you get all the athletes on board and have them just sign a simple letter? Hey, let's have 500 athletes say that any swim events moving forward, we would like to see the fucking lifeguard plan. Can you sign that? And that would have been a great step. All of you would have signed it, and then that would have been a victory, small victory. Instead, you're saying, how did our safety and Lazarus' death get turned into this agenda to get Dave fired?
And that's it. I think that's, in reality, I think that's it.
Wow.
I
didn't know how I didn't see that before. I feel like I'm kind of naive because I actually take it for granted that they actually do want to make shit better. But in all fairness, I think Pat and Brent have been Dave haters for a long time. I wish I could give an example, but I think they've been haters. I think go ahead.
Sorry. I do think they want to make things better, but I don't think for their own agenda. I think that they think that they're doing what's best, and they're doing what's best for what their in crowd is telling them. But what about everybody else who disagrees with it? Why does no one else, like Saxon? Why does no one else have a chance to say, like, hey, I don't agree with that. Like, can we find a different way? Like, I don't think that's the answer. Like, they just send it out.
About making do you think you're a minority, Saxon? Because basically with this decision and you saying this, you're basically saying, hey, dude, I can't be a part of your fucking group if you go for that guy. I like all your other shit, but why'd you have to throw that in there? And you could legitimately say, what does that have to do with our safety?
Right. I would say this, and I asked this question. Okay, you want Dave out. Who's going to program? Training camps?
Yeah.
People that already get leaked workouts, like, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to sit here and you don't have a solution. You're asking for somebody to step away and you don't have a solution. What's the solution? Oh, do you want to be in that position? Like, who do you want in that position? Do you want it to be a training camps? Do you want it to be a collective group? Is it because you don't like being known? Like, that's my question. Like, why?
Are you guys in the minority? I like what Hiller did there. Do you think you're a minority? Fuck you, Andrew.
No, we're definitely not the minority.
You're not the minority. Do you think you're the majority?
I think I think there's a big silent majority who really is waiting for someone like me and Saxon to say this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And here's the thing: is like everybody wants to. I keep saying that, but like people don't want to speak up because it's a hard thing to speak on. And I spoke about this at the games, was like, this can't be a decision that's made on emotion. Like, if we chose to go forward with the games, or if we didn't choose to go forward with the games, this is a pivotal point for CrossFit, whether it's here next year or whether it's not here next year. And maybe these guys are too caught in emotion and, they're just looking for something, but we can't react on emotion. We have to be logical. We have to think, 5 steps ahead and figure out, okay, well, like, what's the plan if we do this? What's plan A? What's plan B? Like, my big thing is, like, when we were at that meeting, you had a lot of coaches stepping up and a lot of training camps stepping up to speak. Okay, so like, let's just say I'm a coach of a training camp and I have, 10 athletes. And me as a coach, I have my view of like, I don't think you guys should compete. But yet you have 5 athletes that want to compete and 5 athletes that don't want to compete. Me as a coach, I'm like, well, I don't want to coach you if you're going to compete. Like, there was just so much emotion and things like that where it's like, okay, well, like, are you going to be manipulated by your coach into making a decision that you don't want, or, for example, with this, like, well, what if I'm not saying all of these training camps because there's a lot of incredible ones out there as well. But like, what's to say some of these training camps that are making millions of dollars off of us as consumers buying their program, that they don't want to put themselves in a position to jointly program the CrossFit games.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're driving more people to your program. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff in place that I feel like people aren't thinking about. And I don't want people to lose sight of, what's really happening.
That's kind of a crazy thought. Is that even part of the speculation process that somehow, have you heard rumors of that the athletes want to program the games themselves?
I would say jointly. I mean, people aren't going to be happy regardless.
Yeah. They, as in the PFAA, just want more say with the programming, which I don't think is right. Like, I think you shouldn't have any say. No one who's competing there needs to have any say. If you're competing, because I'll say from my perspective, I'm sure Saxon's the same way. If I am competing there and I can program stuff, obviously I'm going to program something that I'm going to do good at. This is, I mean, who wouldn't do that? You're an idiot.
Taylor, Saturdays, 8 a.m. Go against the guy programmed for himself. Fuck you, pussies. You can't beat him. Caller, hi.
Hey, Savon. I have a question for Angelo and Saxon.
Sure. Savon just wants to say hi to you too.
If they really are the silent minority and they think there's a big group of crossback back there,
silent majority.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The organization to compete with the PFAA?
You broke up there. I'm sorry.
Ask that one more time.
Do they think they could create an organization to compete with the PFAA?
I mean, here's my thought is like, okay, we could compete with the PFAA, but like, is it really a position that any of us should actually be in? Like I feel like there could be a team that can be created outside of the athletes, because if an athlete's hand is in the pot at CrossFit and coming up with things, like things are going to come out, workouts are going to be told. And like, at the end of the day, people are going to push something to look out for themselves. I personally think, like, let's just say safety protocols, right? I think that should be a third party that they don't even do CrossFit. They're going to come in and they're going to break it down and they're going to criticize it. And they're going to tell you this needs change. This needs change. This is what we see here. This is what could happen here. What's going to happen if this happens? Like, what's your plan? Like, and you just go through it like that. But I would say when it comes to the programming, I don't think any athletes or training camp should be a part of it. It should be an unbiased thing where we're walking into the test of the fittest.
Yeah.
Caller, thank you. Hey, what's interesting about that also is what she asked. Angelo, have you had run-ins with Dave before? Do you and Dave have beef?
No, we don't have any beef.
No, okay. For some reason, I thought you guys did. Do you have his phone number?
No, I don't.
Saxon, do you have his phone number?
Yeah.
If you text him, does he text you back?
I've only texted him once.
Okay. Did he text you back?
Yeah.
Okay. So all of us here know, but not you, Caleb. The other 3 of us here know that if anyone, that once you've reached a certain level of fucking inputs coming in, we all know, like, hey, there's only like 3 people that always get text back, right? And you have them pinned at the top. It's like your mom, your wife, and like whoever gives you money. And then everyone else, you're just fighting to answer texts, right? And it doesn't mean anything whether you respond to anyone or not. Sometimes you don't respond to the people you love the most because you fucking want to give them your time, and your text message are just chaos. We all know that. All the athletes know that, right? Everyone knows that. Once, like, you just hit this threshold and you just accept not texting people back, and if people want to be there for your friends, they have to like just keep bumping you, right? You think that's fair, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we don't even have to say sorry to each other. You're just like, oh, hey, dude, good to see you again. Yeah. Sorry, I'll come on your show Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah.
People can have that fucking relationship with Dave.
Yeah.
And no one, it's like what you said, anyone can build a relationship with him. It's not like he's just a fucking normal dude. He gets out of bed, he scratches his balls, he pees in the middle of the night. Do you know what I mean? Anyone can have a relationship with them. And I think some people have chosen to have a hostile fucking relationship with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, if you're an athlete and you have a hostile relationship with the director of the fucking CrossFit Games, that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
And I know Dave, he doesn't require anyone to kiss his ass. He's not a normal guy. Maybe even got an ism or tism or two. He got like what Andrew has, but he's a fucking good dude.
Yeah. Well, just to add to that, I would say if you're a good leader, you should be able to walk in a room with anyone and have a civilized conversation. And if you can't, you probably shouldn't be leading. Like that's just reality, especially when you're trying to get things done.
And Dave showed you guys that. I guess he got his biggest test after Lazar died, and he had to step in the room with all you fuckers, animals.
Yeah.
God, that must have been crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Have you guys seen Marco's videos that he's released, the team guy?
Yeah, I watched them last night.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Have you seen those, Angelo?
No, I haven't. But who is that?
It's one of the guys he's one of the teams. He's got his hair pulled back.
Oh, yeah. We talked a lot. Yeah, I haven't seen any of his stuff. I'd like to. We had a lot of conversations during the games.
Yeah, he said at one point during the games, during the meeting, he came over to you and he said he respected the shit out of you. Caller, hi.
Hey, what's up?
Just chilling with Angelo and Saxon and C Beaver.
So listen, here's my question is talking about the Marco video. Everyone wants Dave to take the blame for what happened to Lazar. Now, if the PFAA gets involved and starts making a safety plan, something happens under the PFAA's watch, do they take responsibility of that?
Yeah, that's a question that I've had. Like, yeah, especially like that got brought up in my mind so someone correct me if I'm wrong when I say this, that the NorCal Classic was a CrossFit sanctioned event. It's not right now. And because they want to do their swim, among maybe other things. And so they had the PFAA look at their safety plan for that and then sign off on it and gave them the seal of approval. Like, yeah, does that mean that if we go there, or if me and Saxon are watching it and we see something happen on the live stream, that we can call them and say, hey, PFAA, you guys, this is all your fault. You guys signed off on it and you have no idea what you're doing. I don't get that.
Well, I mean, and I'll add to that. Like I said it already. I said, if you can't take the ownership that in collaboration with the athletes, we came to this decision at the CrossFit Games. Like, if you can't even own that, like, how do we expect you to own anything else? Like, if you had a problem with it, you shouldn't have stepped on the competition floor. That's why I respect anyone that chose not to compete. Like, as much as I wanted to compete, I respect anybody that just walked away because that's what they believed in. Yeah. Like, you either believe in it in your decisions you're making or you don't, but you can't come back and double down later and say, well, we thought this, we thought that. Then you should have walked away and you should have made a stance. Like,
yeah,
exactly. Because if this tirade against Dave continues and then next year the PFA gets involved and it's on their watch, so now you have athletes going against athletes even more than they are now. There's just not a collective group that wants to go after Dave or wants to go after Dave. And now you have athletes attacking athletes because the PFA wanted to step in and say, no, this is a safety plan. But if it doesn't work, then it falls back on its face and we're back at square one.
Caller Black John Young says, no, they liaise the responsibility onto someone else. Meaning, and I think I do remember Brent maybe saying something about this, that basically what they do is they get in between the event and whoever's running the safety and maybe check their grammar and make sure communication's right. And it sounds like just an added level of bureaucracy to me.
Yeah,
that's why I've been pushing so hard. If you want to bring something to the table, bring something to the fucking table. Don't come to the table and want to take something from someone else.
I don't understand how they can go ahead.
So then it's a two-headed monster when it comes to blame. Even the PFA is a liaison. If you want to talk bureaucracy, you have three branches of government. Now you have two branches of government across CrossFit. You have PFA and Dave. So something goes down. Who do you blame and how do you blame anybody? Again, like we all say, you can't predict what's going to happen. You don't know what you don't know.
Right. Hey, also, at the end of the day, it's Dave's event.
Yeah.
And so
here would be my question is not to cut you off, but to just kind of adding to that.
I don't mind. No, I'm glad you're here.
if CrossFit was to say, okay, yeah, we'll do something with athletes, and the 40 athletes right now, we're to pick 3 athletes to represent them. Like, my question would be, who would be picked to represent them, or 5 athletes? You know, like
the ones with the most Instagram followers. What do you mean? What other way is there to choose?
Yeah, seriously, biggest following. That would be my question. And I'll say this, you know, when we were at that meeting, we had 5 people that were supposed to go represent us and have a conversation. We had an international athlete that was supposed to be representing. And when we went to go meet with the team, that person just decided to walk away. For whatever reason, they chose to walk away. They took on the responsibility to speak on behalf of the international athletes, and then they chose to just walk away and leave. Maybe that was their way of grieving, whatever it is. But like, you also have things like that that's happening as well, where, you know, they might have had input on international travel. Like, that's why we brought someone international in to speak, because of the travel that they had to overcome to get there. Like, there's just a lot of these different moving parts that I think need to be considered. And, you know, I just want to make sure, for me, I want to make sure that the right people are in charge. And like, I would have no problem working with the PFAA. And me and Angelo spoke to this. If we're willing to like actually have different opinions in the room, and we're willing to come to a compromise, and someone's not going to be happy, and that's fine. But like, that needs to be equal across the board. That way, you know, you have devil's advocate answering to proposals that they have. Like, I know if I was in the room whenever this proposal came up, I know what I would have said. I know what Angelo would have said. And I'll say this, I know a lot of young athletes that are intimidated by a lot of these big name athletes. They're not going to get up and speak. You know, they haven't been around the sport. I was in that position in 2020. I think it was my 2nd or 3rd year at the games. I was 24 and I wasn't willing to get up and speak because of judgment that I was going to face. And I know if there's rookies at the games or young athletes at the games, I'm sure that they felt the same thing. And they were probably scared of, you know, what was going to happen. Is this going to be it? You know, whatever it is. And I'm sure the same thing's going on right now. I know the same thing's going on right now with what people are requesting.
Caller, thank you. I guess the answer to your question is we don't know. Okay, go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
So the last question, more towards Angelo, and it's not an attack, more of a question. Now, I understand that you are not one of the chosen liaison to speak for the team, correct?
Correct, yes.
Now, going back to what Saxon said about you have these big names in CrossFit, and you look at the video of the team overtake density team, that these big names, they feel kind of bullied or they feel kind of intimidated to give an answer because, you know, you've been in the game for a long time. You're clearly attached to Rich. You're clearly attached to CrossFit Mayhem. So that's a large platform in the space. Do you think, speaking your mind, people would tag you along as, oh, if Angelo's saying it's probably coming from Rich and they feel that same intimidation?
They better. They better.
I mean, like, as much as me and Rich agree on a lot of things, like I'm not just his puppet to where people may think that. I think you're right. People may think that me and him agree on everything, and we agree on a lot of stuff. Like, and I don't think that has anything to do with being from CrossFit Mayhem. I think it has to do with growing up in the same, 10-mile radius, that we probably agree on the same stuff. We have a lot of the same friends and a lot of the same people we talk to. So maybe our opinions are going to be similar no matter what. But I don't think I actually didn't want to be in one of the groups in that smaller breakout group because I wanted somebody else to be in there, because maybe there were other people that I knew I agreed with, and I didn't want to be in with those people because they were saying the same thing I was saying. So I thought, well, if they're in there and they're saying the same thing I'm saying, there's no reason for me to be there too. I should let somebody else with a different opinion be in there. That way we're getting a good, meeting of the minds instead of a couple people just being in an echo chamber together.
Hey, caller, but to respond to that, in all fairness, like everything is about other people vouching for you. Like, I would never fucking have had Angelo on the podcast, but Rich used to just bring him on the podcast all the time. And I learned to respect the fuck out of Angelo. And then maybe he got supercharged before he found his own space, but it sure as fuck gives this podcast clout when Saxon and Angelo will come on it, or when Greg Glassman will come on it, or when Katie Henniger will come on it, or Dave Castro or Rich Froning. So like we all get our clout from other people, but you don't get to, and I'm not, you don't get to keep your clout if you don't earn it. Someone can bring you to the table, but Angelo wouldn't have been at the table this long. And I know you weren't saying that, caller. I'm just adding to it. I'm not arguing with you.
Absolutely not.
But Angelo
I was
definitely,
just saying,
after Rich picking him up and putting him in the high chair, Angelo earned his a real chair.
Yeah, I get it. I guess I was talking about how, I'm sure certain athletes look at, Mayhem people and they automatically think, oh, there's a Mayhem guy. Oh, there's, a part of Rich Froning, it's all the same verbiage and language. If Angelo's saying it must come from Rich. If Rich is saying it, I'm sure Saxon has the same idea. But I just wanted to clarify that, people have different opinions no matter whether you come from the same camp or not. And talking about that intimidation on the YouTube, I can completely understand that, but I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, what about, I know this is off topic, but what about Rich just speaking out just like right away? That was fucking wild. He just dropped the fucking nuke in his stories.
That was incredible.
That was great.
Yeah. That was cool. Hopefully we can get Rich on. I can't wait to hear about Leadville too. Drew Arnold, in 2020, woke and emotional athletes and affiliate owners nearly killed CrossFit with the cancellation of Greg. In 2024, they have Dave in their sights. These two men are solely responsible for your careers.
Yeah.
And the last part for sure. Do you remember 2000? Did you own an affiliate in 2020, Saxon?
Yeah. Was
that crazy time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, do you see some parallels between that and this?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Zoom calls, a lot of opinions and a lot of plans, I would say. I would say more like plans for how you can make this look better for an athlete. And I think that's where you kind of have this shiny ball or whatever you want to call it, just kind of dangling in front of you, where it's very easy to be like, oh, longevity, this is a career, I can make a lot of money doing this, versus, what's actually happening. And I think it's very easy to be blindsided by things or to be not so aware of what's actually happening, and, kind of taking your eyes off of truly what happened and how we can get past that and how we can make it better by, well, we have this league that we want to propose where it's like the golf or like tennis, where you get these tour cards and you get a guaranteed spot back at the games if you get 2,000 points. And I think that sounds cool. That would be great. But not at the expense of somebody's career and somebody that has a family and kids as well. How's that fair? I don't care if it's just one person, but you're not doing the right thing. If you're not going to do the right thing, how do I expect you to look out for other athletes and in the future of it? We saw what happened with the Grid League, when people tried to step away from what was actually happening. But I just think it's very important to understand the facts and to not lose sight of what happened and how we can move past it.
There, Angelo, there were these, what I would consider passive aggressive comments or abstract comments that are just to rally the mob. The workouts were too long. We were doing 10,000 reps when we should have only had to have done 1,000 or something in one of the letters that came from the PFAA. You ever been to the games and think, oh, this is too much?
Have I? No, I actually haven't been in the game and thought this is too much. I feel like in training we do a ton more. Yeah, the intensity is higher, but volume wise, I've never felt unsafe by doing too much of something.
Saxon?
Maybe a marathon row, but I'm kidding.
Right. So there's the thing. I'm almost concerned that if someone hasn't thought that once.
What do you mean?
Because it's the fucking test for the fittest.
Yeah. Right. That was the marathon row isn't a test of capacity. It was a test of capacity, but dude, I rode that thing with the damper on 1 and held a 205. Then I fell apart for the last 10,000 meters because I just drank pickle juice, but that's on me. But
99% of the time it's the test of the fittest. It's not test of, it's not war of attrition. It shouldn't be you shouldn't be able to let's see who's going to make it to the last day. If you can just make it to the last day, you could probably get top 10. Yeah, obviously you're going to be beat up and sore and tired, but it's not about who the toughest athlete is. I think I've even heard Dave say that he's testing fitness, not toughness. And like Saxon said, it's not buds. He's not testing you like a Navy SEAL. They're testing you for fitness. If you look at the test, if you want to test toughness, you do push-ups every single day, or you do pull-ups every single day. You know, you do the same thing. You run.
Or you create 5 habits, like wake up at 5 a.m. every day. If you like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's absolutely a test of fitness. It is tough, of course. It's tough by nature, and because the athletes make it tough, but it's not. It's for fitness, obviously.
Corbin, Angelo, Angelo, I love you.
Thanks, Corbin.
In a certain world that you could take offense to that, Saxon, since no one said that to you. If
That's right.
You want. We're in that kind of
honestly,
mode.
I wasn't expecting any of that.
Quite the opposite.
Let's see. Scroll down here. If you want the test of toughness, you have a 12-hour. You have 12-hour events.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you go to Brian Chantosh's house and you.
I just, you know, and
yeah.
You talk about toughness, and that's where, you know, I'm against people using Dave's past against him, because if Dave wasn't a Navy SEAL, would people really be saying this? Would the narrative be different? And you know, like I feel like people are using that against him and just a stepping stone, and I find that ridiculous. And
hey, for me, the same way that Dana White, whether you like him or not, the fact that he's a fucking tough guy, he needs to be for the UFC. We need a guy who can say the things he does, tell Peloton to fuck off, act the way he does at the fucking and if we didn't have a Navy SEAL as our programmer for the CrossFit Games, and if we didn't have that for the CrossFit Games, I think we would lose a shitload of our swagger. I think that's
a lot of respect in a lot of people's mind.
Say that again.
You lose a lot of respect in a lot of people's mind. Like you're not respected anymore. Like I do think, and like even Saxon said, like there is some stuff that the PFAA may have hit right on the head. This is just not one. This is not one of them. And I do think that there should be some amount of collaboration where Dave listens to what the athletes have to say. And I think the balance is somewhere like 80-20. 80% of the time he said, no, like I got this handled. You guys don't really have a say in this. Like programming would be one of those things. The other 20% would be like, hey, we haven't really had a clear movement standard for this. Can we get something in writing and we can both agree on? Or I guess one of the other things would be like, I think everyone can agree with from an athlete's perspective. Like what happened to, oh crap. Who's the guy that hurt his pec at last year's semifinals?
Carone. Was that Carone?
Carone. Yeah. Why can't I couldn't remember Carone, where Carone shouldn't have been pulled out. Like he was told a certain standard that he had to keep trying. And he did keep trying. He didn't really try hard, but he did continue to try. And he knew that it was going to hurt him, but he was going to try to battle back. But they never get up front. He asked and said they told him that he just had to keep trying, which he did. So that's another thing where there should have been a clear hey, if you don't do this amount of work before the time's up, then you don't get to move on. And if that's what they're doing, then I agree with that. But that's the only 20% of the time. 80% of the time, it should be you need a leader, someone who's going to say, hey guys, no, this is my job and I'm taking the head of this. And you guys, if you want to compete, you're just going to have to deal with some of these things.
Corbin Bowman. Oh shit. Saxon.
There it is.
Saxon, Tony loves you too.
Hey, dig a little deeper, boys. No, I'm just kidding.
Yolana, I've enjoyed being a part of the live chat the last few days. Thanks for these time slots, Sevy and Caleb. Thank you also for your insights, Angelo and Saxon.
You're welcome.
So you think that there's a little bit of too much entitlement?
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
And you think that's why it's coming from the athletes who have just straight up the most amount of followers?
I think that has something to do with it. I mean, I think also the pull from inside the just having, being able to say that they represent the athletes and say the PFAA represents what the athletes think. That also is their pull. Like it's sounding like it's from all of us. So like anyone outside of the main, individual athletes would be like, oh, well, this came from all of them. So like maybe we should support this too.
What do you think about a run swim event where you swim in a vest for next year?
No.
I don't think so.
We got Will Morad on this chat here. Won the third division.
Yeah, what's he doing? Shouldn't he be partying?
Hey, speaking of which, there's this workout. I forget what it's called, but it's this fucking insane workout. It's like Isabel, 30 muscle ups for time, and then Grace. Do you know this workout? What's that called?
the standard. Will did it in like 7:50, 7:49.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Fraser's time was like 8:10. He smoked it.
Oh my God.
That's a dog right there.
Yeah, someone told me that the other day. He did that at the Masters event.
Yeah, he did it yesterday.
Oh, that's unfair. They should kick him out for that. If the PFAA should kick him out for that.
They need to let Will's going to come back next year, I believe, right, Will? I think he has one more in him.
Saxon, are you drinking from a mason jar?
Yes, Trish.
Extra sloppy for Angelo and Saxon. No, come on, this is a serious show. Come on.
It's a serious question.
I know, but Saxon's a good dude.
7:41, Will. Sorry. I love this chat. This chat's great.
It's chaos, dude.
He's
chaos.
lost in the comments.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
Straight up. I mean, honestly, I just want to hear what people want to hear. That's it.
What do you think? What do you think? Do you think that? Let me ask you this to speculate. Then, you think that Brent and Pat wish they wouldn't have done that now? That they would like what? Like, let me ask you the same thing I asked the guys earlier on the panel yesterday. Why would they post that publicly? Why are they doing it publicly?
Why would anybody?
Yeah. Well, I'll say I know they don't regret it. They doubled down yesterday.
You want people to get behind you. Like, you're trying to create this movement and this chaos here to get people behind you. And that's it. Like, because like, stand on your own 2 feet and like, go handle it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, show up. Like, like those guys were down there at the Masters. Go sit down and have a conversation. Like, for me, that's what I would do. And I told Brent that straight up. I said I would just show up at headquarters and say, we're not leaving this room until we come to a solution. If you tell me to F off, then you tell me to F off. It is what it is. I can't say I didn't try. But like, I don't know how you can be respected whenever you're going and you're calling these demands and essentially for somebody to lose their job over, you know, the ability to actually sit down and have a conversation. Like a conversation, especially when it's coming to something like this, like a conversation's not going to be easy and you're going to disagree, and that's fine. Like that's how you make progress. But like, you need to have people that have ears and are willing to sit down and patience to sit down and have that conversation and work through it.
Their two arguments are people are afraid to talk to Dave and people and he's not accessible. Those are the two arguments. He's not accessible, right? He doesn't respond to them, which we kind of uncovered is there's something fishy going on about that. We uncovered
Dave
that.
has a number. Dave has an email.
Yeah.
Don has the number. Don has an email.
Right.
Like,
and
there's an address for HQ. Like,
right.
Right.
And there's other people there you can speak to also. You can speak to Heather Lawrence. I've never had a problem getting in touch with Heather, Don, or Dave. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And I don't think
to both of them, and they were pretty instant when I asked just to have a conversation.
You did speak to Don?
Yeah.
Oh, when did you speak to Don? After when?
After that went out.
After the demands went out, you spoke to Don.
Yeah.
Wow.
How could you not? I mean, here's the thing is like, if somebody didn't, maybe no one would have. And if Dave was to lose his job, I couldn't sit back and be like, well, I didn't try. I didn't reach out. I didn't have a conversation. Like, I felt I needed to have a conversation with him. And that's what we had. It was very productive. He had his ears open. And, you know, I felt that we made a lot of progress, and I had some answers to some of the questions that I had. And for me, I felt like I was able to move forward with peace on, you know, what I had to say.
I think here, let me say this to you nicely, since you guys are both CrossFit Games athletes. I'll start with the hard, nasty part first. I think CrossFit athletes have way more they think that they have way more they think that they're way more influential, and people think that they're way more they think that they're way more valuable. They think their value and their influence are equal, and they're not. Their influence is immense, and their value is near zero.
I mean, here's the reality, right?
And
like,
but let me say this, and so, but I don't think they choose to use their influence in a very good way.
I didn't. I mean, I haven't. You know,
It's like we see James Sprague, and I'm not a Christian, but like I'm like, fuck, this motherfucker's using his influence.
Yeah.
Like true to who he fucking is. You know what I mean? I can't even get next to Jake Foster, one of the coaches of Mayhem, without him start preaching fucking scripture to me. He's using his fucking influence. You know what I mean? But do you guys agree with that? That their influence is immense, but their value is zero, and they need to fucking get on board with that and figure out what they want to influence without letting it go to their fucking head. Because really, dude,
I've been on both sides of that. I've kept my mouth shut for a long time, and I just kind of worked and trained, and that was it. You know, what I did inside an affiliate with the members, you know, I felt they knew.
How many people have you trained in your day? How many people do you think you've trained in your day?
Thousands.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, here's a great story, and this is what people don't understand. I had a guy that came into my affiliate. He had triple bypass heart surgery. The dude couldn't even lay off the floor and stand up without him thinking he was going to pass out, and worked with him for a year. The dude was climbing a 15-foot rope and snatching 155 pounds. You know, like this guy couldn't even get off the floor when he came in. You know, it changed his life. Like, imagine if he never walked into a gym. Like, people don't see that. Like, and I think that's why I get so irritated when people don't want to go take their level 1, level 2, or, you know, even understand the methodology, because that's where the magic's at. Like, that's where the true influence comes from. And that's where you change people's lives. It's not through your social media. Yes, like, we have influence, but like, if you were to come see me inside an affiliate, you know, if I was to go coach a class and what you see on my social media, it's different. Like, it's very hard to put out what you're actually doing. Maybe it's just I struggle capturing it, but like, at the end of the day, like, what people see is just us working out, and it's easy to think that we have this major influence, but, you know, do we really? Like, we're working out, like we're just working out, and at one point that will come to an end. People won't care what you post and your lifts.
Yeah.
Well, and there are athletes out there who have over 1 million Instagram followers who can't get 20,000 fucking views on their reels.
Yeah.
Who who were massive, 10 years ago. Joe Nels, Brent had Dave on one during his athlete interview. Why not hold court then for the world to see?
You had a one-on-one interview with Dave. Why not?
Yeah, I think that's part of what Saxon was saying.
Like, I don't read so good. Hold on, Angelo. Let me read that again. Hold on. Brent had one-on-one Brent had Dave one-on-one during his athlete interviews. Why not hold court for the world to see? Okay, go ahead, Angelo. Yeah.
I think that's what Saxon said earlier, that like, you had these opportunities to bring something up before, but there wasn't anything to be brought up. You know, you can't predict the future of something bad going to happen. And if you did have these concerns that you said Dave didn't listen to, where are they? I mean, I know that there were concerns, but where were they brought up to Dave? I didn't see it brought up there. You could put him on the hot seat right then, and everyone's going to watch that.
Any questions?
Yeah, exactly. He asked everybody, do you have any questions?
On the other hand, Pat tried to play gotcha with him.
Yeah, what was that? I can't remember.
He brought the monetization, which at the end of the day only hurts. That he was like playing gotcha with Dave, like, oh, I see you didn't monetize them. Why? Well, at the end of the day,
who cares?
Hiller calls me and says, hey, dude, when you don't monetize them, Google doesn't push them to as many people because then they don't make money off them. So it's only hurting the athletes.
So he wasn't talking safety. I mean, that's my question.
Well, and then the other thing he said is, why don't you go to other events and watch them? And Dave's like, hey, man, we've thrown so many events of our fucking own. I've seen fucking hundreds of events. But I think Angelo and you already talked about this. Pat doesn't even have his level 1.
Yeah.
So he should be.
Doesn't even remember what the CrossFit tour was.
Look at you. Trish, Saxon, $1.99 to share your skincare regimen.
Jeez, you should have seen me 10 years ago.
Do you use soap, Saxon?
What?
Do you use soap?
I mean, I use shampoo, but that's it. It's not like I sit there and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Most healthy men don't use soap. I just figured that out. Andrew doesn't even own soap, he told me. I have a hairy ass. I have to suds the ass, or else I'll have just so many dingleberries. It'll be fucking crazy. Destroy the sheets.
It's disgusting.
It just is what it is, dude. It's fucking 52-year-old Armenian man. Whitney Davis. So you think Dave would cut out an athlete asking about safety because it wasn't live? You have no idea who Dave is then. He doesn't give a fuck.
I don't get that.
Meaning
somebody was commenting that because his videos weren't live meant that he cut them up.
No,
he portions.
I think there was only one video that was cut. There was 2 or 3 videos were cut. One thing he admitted that him and Tia talked about, he cut because he didn't want it to be shown. And then the only other times he cut was when he had a delivery to the ranch, and he learned how to pause his show and then go get the delivery and come back. Dude, the guy can barely use YouTube. He ain't cutting shit.
If you think that he cut out Brent asking about safety things in there, or Brent or Pat asking about safety stuff in their video, and and Brent or Pat haven't brought it up yet, you're crazy. Right. If you don't think that wouldn't have been in the initial post, you're crazy. If you don't think it would have came out before the games, you're crazy.
Do you find it difficult to make sense of what the PFAA, what they really want? Do you find it difficult?
I've had conversations with them on wanting to create, like, I heard you guys talk about it yesterday, like a movement library. Yes, they've had conversations about things like that. They have had productive conversations. Like, I'm not like I said, I want this all to be facts. Like, they have had some productive conversations on things that I can see that they want to move forward. But like a recent thing that they talked about was where a judge should be standing on every single movement. Like, there's just a lot of little things that I'm like, guys, like, is that really where we need to be putting our time and effort? Like, if CrossFit was putting their time and effort in that, like, you know what I mean? Like, we'd get nowhere, you know?
Yeah. And I will say that I was on the phone with Brent, and I said this before we were done talking. I said, hey, Brent, I know you and I disagree on a lot of things. And I said, I actually really enjoy disagreeing with people. And I do think it brings the best ideas to the table. So I want to be involved any way I can be. And anytime you guys have these, you know, whatever you want to call them, these breakout sessions or these video calls, I want to be involved as much as possible, because I don't think you and I see eye to eye on a lot of these issues. And I think you guys I think we need that. Like, I really want to be able to disagree with somebody, and I want to be able to bring up things that I think are important and that need to be said. And I want them to say, hey, no, this is why we're not doing that, or this is why we shouldn't do that. And maybe they're right. And I'll be the first person to say, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't do that now. I didn't see it from my perspective. Or maybe, hopefully, they can see it from my perspective and say, oh, okay, yeah, I never thought about that. I do think that's a good idea.
Yeah, like, I would love for us all to get on this phone call so that the public can hear. Like, bring them on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just want to make sure, for me, I want to make sure everybody understands what's going on and the facts that are being out there. And let's have an open conversation, you know, and let's
not just an Instagram post and ghost, and then let you kind of let people, you know, just talk about it.
And I don't want to, like, it's not like a matter of just sitting here. Like, of course, you can sit there and have a one-on-one call with somebody and be like, oh, yeah, well, you know, I talked to you about this, I talked to you about that, but nobody else knows that. So, like, if you're going to make that public, let's throw it all out there.
Yeah.
Were you guys on the email that went out that Andrew Hiller ended up posting that the PFA sent out?
Which one did he post?
He posted one that went out. Go ahead, Saxon.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
that's the one you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that thing, doesn't, well, I'll get back to that in a second. Does the PFAA send out any emails for best practices before events? Like, do you get something before the games that says, okay, guys, make sure you show up to Texas 2 weeks early and acclimate to the heat. Here are the locations. We recommend you do the swim. By the way, make sure you use this suntan lotion. You're going to be running with your cap. Put it here. Bring Listerine. Like, do they do anything that's
like that?
Yeah. Do they do anything like
there's conversations that were had on like some safety and like heat, but it was more, I would say a lot of it was more of like the conversations from CrossFit to the PFAA, and we were just looped in on it.
So like, you'll go to an Instagram account and it will show you like, there's Instagram accounts, how to catch animals. Have you ever seen those? And it has like 3 million followers, and it shows how to dig a hole and trick birds to falling into the hole, or how to catch a frog, or like, it's just this Instagram account showing you how to survive. Or I saw one yesterday. It's women who are size 2X to 5X who want to go to Disneyland a lot. And it tells you, they have shitloads of followers, and it tells you what you need to do if you're obese and you want to go to Disneyland, like eat this, use this lotion, wear these shoes. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I have a strong opinion that that's where they should be starting in order to add value to gather you guys up to be like, wow, this is really a valuable resource for us
Yeah.
And once we have these guys on board, I mean, doesn't that just seem like the way I mean, that's how CrossFit started. The workouts were given out free on the website. The videos were given out free on the website.
Nobody knows that. Like, that's the thing. And I think this is where we have to keep things in mind is like a lot of these athletes weren't around from the beginning. And a lot of these guys came onto the scene in 2014, 15, like people don't like.
It's kind of common sense though, right? If you want to get people together, give them something that they value, and then they'll come to the watering hole. Dig a hole, fill it with water, and people will come to it.
Right. Well, I mean, I spoke to this on something earlier whenever I said games athletes should have their level 1, and they're like, well, why? And I mean, if you look back in 2000 and I want to say it was 2001, Greg Glassman referred to the pegboard, and every home gym should have a pegboard. And then all of a sudden, a pegboard comes up. This is stupid. Like, we should have had this. Like, you could say that, oh, that was unsafe. Somebody could have did X, Y, Z. But like, if you actually understood the methodology and what Greg Glassman was trying to get across, like, you would understand that. But like, people don't want to understand the methodology and why you're doing what you're doing.
Caller, hi.
So, question for actually the whole crew, and bear with me.
Caleb too? Caleb too?
Yeah, he might add some insight.
All right, fine.
So, I have a profit. I've been a president of the chamber.
Wait, hold on. My shitty phone's popping. Hold on. I can't stand that shit. Hold on. Everyone be cool. Angelo, twist your mustache or something. Keep everyone engaged.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
Okay, caller, go ahead.
We can wait.
Go ahead, caller.
And I sit on 2 HOA boards. So, I own property in two communities, and I sit on both of those boards. I'm curious as to, has anybody who's been involved seen the bylaws of the PFAA? Because I got about an hour into the podcast with Pedro. They talked about being an official nonprofit, and as athletes, 79 of y'all who are vested in this process, technically y'all should have voting rights. And so like their ability to make these decisions, my assumption would be there should be some type of official voting process, and that should be clearly outlined on the bylaws that they wrote when they became a nonprofit. And it just seems like the whole group of them are just making decisions without the interest or without getting y'all's opinions if y'all are coming on this show. So I'd be curious as to what those say.
I mean, that's
an adult has entered the room.
That's emotion speaking for those guys. I mean, clearly, like.
So are you saying you haven't seen any bylaws that it's because I've made this joke that the PFAA lives in that much. I've made this joke that the PFAA just lives in a drawer in fucking Brent's office, even though I think it does. It's just a manila folder in a drawer.
That's the way it appears. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very
an Instagram handle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because
it's an Instagram handle.
I've been on the board that I'm on. We've literally been on one where we've had to fire people. We've had to fire landscapers and, replace people who are on the board. And those type of decisions cannot be made with only the 7 people who sit on the board. You have to have the rest of the people who are in the community who have a vested interest, whether or not they sit on the board or not. They have to vote by either sending in a proxy or going to the annual meeting.
Well, that's the problem.
We all have to find this out. That's crazy.
There's so many people. Like, okay, should agents and coaches be allowed to make those decisions, or should it be athletes?
And that's what should be. That's what should have been written up when they developed this in the first place. So this wouldn't become an issue.
Yeah, to me, it seems more like a movement that's trying to occur than an actual like logical thinking.
It takes us back to agenda. It takes us back to what their agenda is.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you say you speak, if you represent all the athletes, why wouldn't? Yeah, as soon as you get your invitation for the CrossFit Games, maybe the PFAA has the mailing list of everyone who got their invitation, and then now that's their mailing list to like when they want to send out stuff like this, they go, okay, for the next year, these are the people we're going to ask about these things because they're the athletes.
If they had an attorney drop the demands, why didn't they have one do one for the bylaws?
And maybe they have bylaws. Who knows? By the way,
Caleb would help.
Yeah, and Caleb did help. That comment he said it's just an Instagram account was fucking brilliant.
Hey, Colby Stevens says I'm open-minded. I've never heard anyone say that about me.
Corey, thank you. Love you, buddy.
All right, buddy.
Bye. All right. PFAA demands Noah gets his minute back. I don't know if that's true. That might be hearsay. You missed a Barry super chat about Noah. Okay, well, couldn't you have written it in there? I'll let Caleb find that. Caleb, you're on that. There's a button you can push, I think, that shows you all the thoughts on Noah after watching the Marco video. I don't think you guys saw the Marco video?
Seen it.
Yeah.
You're in it. He talks about you, Angelo, not by name, but it's obviously you.
Yeah, we talked a lot, so I mean, I don't care. He could have said my name if he wanted to. Maybe he wanted to be professional and not use my name. I don't care. It wouldn't upset me. Unless he talks shit about me, then he can't say my name.
Before you guys say anything about Noah, if you're going to say anything about Noah, so I'm really confused on that situation. I originally thought that the minute was to honor Lazar Jukic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Then I heard, and then I'll give the floor to you, Saxon. Then I heard that the minute wasn't to honor Lazar Jukic, but it was to protest CrossFit not doing a long enough tribute to Lazar, and that the two got conflated. And boy, I don't even know if it fucking matters, but what a fucking mess.
Angelo, I'm sure you can speak to that more. The only thing I would say is I think it's hard to cast judgment on anyone in those moments because there was so much that people didn't know what to do. So people did something. I don't know. That's why I think and here's the thing. It's so different when you have a team because you could easily have people that want to do something and people that don't want to do something. I think for individuals, it's a little easier. It's like wrestling. It's an individualized sport. You go out there and you got your own map. But when you're on a team, it's completely different. Everyone carries their emotions differently. So I think it's hard to judge anyone that on a team because who knows what was going on between that team.
Yeah, I can give the play-by-play of everything that happened, and I just want to do it one time because I think there's a lot of misconception on what happened. Noah brought the whole group together, as in the last heat of the teams together, and said, "Hey, a couple of us have decided that we're going to take a minute off at the beginning of this event, and to honor Lazar. You don't have to say if you want to do it or not." But just to let you know that some of us are going to do it, and we are going to see. This is exactly what happened. We are going to see if we can get our time back. Dave was there, and he said, "I don't know if I can do that, but I'll see what I can do." It's exactly what he said. And then we broke out. No one said, "Yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that." It was just we all broke out, and you were to go to your team and say, "Hey, do you guys want to do that? But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you want to do it?" And my team, we look at each other, we say, "We don't feel like we want to do that at this moment." So we went out there and we started the event. It wasn't like, "Hey, we're all going to do it." And I said, "Hey, Noah, fuck you. I'm not doing that." We didn't do that. It wasn't like that at all. And he would say the same thing, that it was not us trying to get a head start on anybody. So I've heard both sides of that. It was, "Hey guys, some of us are going to do this. You don't have to if you don't want to." And then we broke out and we went out there and we started the event. That's exactly what happened.
And then Cora Saunders' husband called you a fucking loser.
I'll confirm nor deny that. We did have a conversation and he apologized afterwards.
Oh, that's nice. Good. I like him. I like him and Carr. They're wily though. Carr's a handful.
Yeah.
She's a fucking handful. Here's the thing. When you take a minute in front of a crowd that cheers for you, you're telling the crowd that you're sacrificing something.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an agenda behind that or not. I'm just taking at face value. They took a minute off. That's what he said. That's what Noah said.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem. But when you sacrifice something publicly, right? Like you throw a baby into the like you're gonna throw a baby into the volcano so that the gods will then pour rain on your crops. And everyone sees it. You don't then fucking turn around and fucking grab a plastic baby and throw it in the fucking thing and then fucking be like, "Hey, I didn't really do it."
Yeah.
So that's just where it got weird for him. I fucking
sure.
Noah's a great dude, love Noah, but then to ask for the minute back is just really weird because then it's WWE, it's a fake sacrifice. That's at the end of the day, that's what it is, right?
For me, it was just, and I know, or I don't know. I don't feel though that he meant it to be a dig towards us almost, but that's how it felt because we went out and we started the event. We were told maybe you get the minute back, maybe you don't. We're like, okay, well, we're not worrying about it. That's not how that's just not what we're gonna do for my team. We just didn't want to do that. And then when they say they want to get the minute back, we're like, well, then basically, and we caught a lot of shit for that. So basically, everyone
like fuck the mayhem guys.
Yeah, we caught a lot of shit for that. Not necessarily from people in the back, but just like really on social media and stuff. And it means nothing. It doesn't bother me or anything. I'm just saying, like, okay, so we go out there and we look like assholes because we start the event, and it looks like, oh, these guys are cheaters trying to get a head start on everyone. Everyone else is trying to honor him, and these guys obviously don't care about him. But that's not at all what happened. We just started it. We didn't know that it was an agreed upon thing. We were just doing what we thought was right in the moment. They were doing what they thought was right in the moment. And then basically, I don't think he knew that we were catching a bunch of shit for it. But yeah, we caught a bunch of shit for it. And now we look like assholes because we went out there and no one else did. So that's the part I didn't like personally.
I just didn't like it that you guys all did. Couldn't basically what it is. It was wishy-washy, and it's not Noah's fault because he's not a leader. But it needed to be either all of you guys did it or didn't do it because the fucking fans fucking paid for you guys to compete.
Yeah,
they should have fucking thrown tomatoes. I mean, that is what they paid for. They paid to fucking watch you compete.
Yeah,
and it's like, I wonder if they ever talk to the athletes about that. Do they ever? I've never heard that at the games. Maybe they need to start doing that. Do they ever say that to you guys, Saxon? They get all you guys together. I've never heard that. And been like, hey, listen, guys, I know you're here to compete to be the fittest people in the world, but also you need to know this, and you need to sign this piece of paper that you're going to fucking try your fucking hardest. People paid money to fucking see you. Don't throw the fucking event.
To be honest, I mean, I think for a lot of the individuals, they went out there to compete.
Yeah.
I went out there to compete. Doesn't mean it was easy. I mean, we went out there that first day and you kind of feel guilty competing because of everything that's going on, but you're still competing to win. I think I'm sure that's what a lot of athletes felt like. I mean, when I was on the start mat, I was like, shoot, what happens if no one goes and I'm the only one?
I'll tell you, hey, I know what I'll tell you what it's like. It's weird. It's really weird.
You're the only team in your heat.
I don't know.
What that's awesome.
If you wanted to take a minute off, why not do it once you finish the workout before standing on the finish mat? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would have been a good plan. That would have been a good plan.
I don't know. I just think it was awkward for a lot of people. And what do you I would say everybody pretty much went out there and gave it their best. And if you didn't feel like you could, you didn't.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a hard question, Saxon.
I love hard questions. Tell me.
Next year, there's no prize money, 0 prize money. Do you still try to compete at the games?
Yeah.
You do?
I mean, I got into this. It wasn't for the money. It wasn't for a platform. It wasn't for Instagram. Wasn't even around. I remember I convinced Scott. I said, bro, you need to get an Instagram if you're going to the games. He's like, what's Instagram?
Here, this will be a great question for Saxon because me and my teammate Sam had this question for each other before the games. Said, so if I told you were going to win the CrossFit games, all you had to do is take out a loan. And you obviously, I mean, maybe you get money from the games, but how big of a loan do you take out? I said, if I'm going to win the games, I'll take out a loan $500,000, maybe $1 million. I don't care. I'll pay it off for the rest of my life. I get to win the games. It's not about the money at all. It's just, it's something that you can't put into words. You're just I want that so bad. You have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I'm not opposed to the athletes being fucking absolutely fucking filthy rich. That would be fucking awesome. I'm fuck, man. I've done as much as anyone to promote the games, but it is interesting because going back to what Saxon was saying before, there's something that we've strayed away from that I think some people think we can stray away from, but I'm pretty sure we can't. I think it'll die if we stray away from it.
I'm sure you can speak to this pretty well. Like if you go back and you look when you did behind the scenes, or like anyone did a documentary from 2012 to 2015, I would say 15 was probably the last year. Like you saw this like the athletes were very united with each other, and it was more of like kind of playful and fun, and that you could tell that they all loved what they were doing. You didn't see too much like stress on the athletes, but like I'm sure if you went back, anytime, I would say from 2000 and I would say beyond that point, but for me from 2018 to like current day, you don't see that anymore. You just see more of like athletes are out the win, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, if that's what they need to do, that's what they need to do. But like you see less stories of athletes and more like personality of who they are. And I think that just comes through like the social media and the finances. Like I would be curious to see if you were to take all the finances away from it, like what would you see with the athletes? You know what I mean? Like it would look a lot different with them going on the floor. It would look a lot different with them in the warm-up area. Like you would actually see them enjoying themselves and having a good time. And do you really get to see that as much? Like, I mean, I'm asking you this, Savon, like, have you seen a change in the athletes from when you first started doing that stuff to present day?
Yeah. The coolest thing about the games this year, absolutely coolest, was Jason Hopper, Dallin Pepper, and James Sprague's relationship. That was like absolutely one of the coolest fucking things. And when Hopper dragged Dallin to just rip him on fucking TV, that was fucking crazy. And if there were other people, and they're not exclusive either. They're not like all from the same training camp. And anyone who wanted could jump into that fuckery. You know what I mean? If Colton was there, they would have tormented him. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's what's also interesting though along that line is it's been traditionally more the men. I've seen Annie and Katrin hang out quite a bit together, and they have fun. But traditionally, Sam Briggs was cool. Becca Voigt was cool as shit. You know what I mean? Valerie Voberl, some of the old school, they would chop it up. Kristen Clever chopped it up. But for the most part, the boys chopped it up way more. You know what I mean? And you can see it in people like you or Cole Sager, or the people who are just like so easy to approach, right? Like they have those old Travis Mayer. I mean, his whole camp is fucking a stand-up routine. You know what I mean? Between him and El Haj and yeah. And who is cool as fuck? Who's pretty fucking laid back for how stressful shit is? Brooke Wells and Marconi.
Yeah.
Like just fucking hanging, man. Like even during warm-up, it's serious as a heart attack, but they're fucking cool. Will Moore, but Brooke was stoked. She had Will Morad and Marconi.
Yeah.
He's cool as shit, and she had those two fucking cool motherfuckers. They're cool dudes. Yeah, it was cool. Will just stands there and smiles.
Well, he lives right up the road from me. He's just a good dude.
Yeah, just a great dude. All right. So in a nutshell, as we come to the 90-minute mark, you don't want to see the community be torn apart. You're not cool with them asking for Dave to step down. You enjoy. I'm kind of lumping both of you together. You guys enjoy talking to Fikowski. You enjoy the differences that you have. You believe that that there's room for improvement, although you have no complaints about too hard of workouts or safety or any long going this thing that they won't talk about, that they just keep pointing at as abstractions, wanting change, like it's a part of the Kamala Harris fucking campaign. But you're open to it. You're totally open to it, and you want to be a part of it, and you want to move the sport forward. But also like you agree that like, hey, let's not overvalue ourselves. We have a lot of influence here, but let's make sure we stay in our lane of fucking influence.
Yeah, pretty much. And stop going after people when you don't know the facts.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think it's personal. You've convinced me it's personal. You just convinced me. Like I was always on the fence, and I didn't want to say it out loud. But they're Dave haters.
Yeah,
Like, they got their person. They got their person. You know what? Even when, and you could speak this too, Angelo. Even when Rich and Dave had problems, Rich didn't go after fucking Dave.
Yeah.
Like he didn't go after him. And
I
don't ever remember Fraser really going after Dave either, to be honest. And their shit was is contentious as fuck.
Well, and that's the thing, like about going after Dave, whatever. Like, does everyone, when they watch our podcast of us talking about like, oh, well, like we don't think they should kick Dave out, whatever, do they not remember 3 months ago when Rich and Dave had to do a sit down podcast together because they had so much beef? Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously,
I was
like
part of that, stirring that up.
like obviously they don't just like, we don't blindly support whatever Dave thinks. Like we just support this in this aspect. Like I'm not gonna blindly support anybody.
All right. I think that clip that Angelo at the 121 mark could go viral, where he talks just where you explain like the starting thing. I want to say one more thing too, that Saxon brought up, that he respects the athletes who pulled out for like sticking to it, to their whatever that they thought was right. I keep hearing that people talk shit to the athletes who pulled out. I don't ever remember anyone talking shit about them. I live in my own echo chamber.
It was more the other way of like, how can you still compete like this?
Yeah, I don't remember. We didn't talk any shit about Laura on this podcast, or Jeff Adler, or any of those people for pulling out. We've had some curious, just like drama soap opera wonderings, like what happened with Gabby and Christoph since Christoph left. And I also do think that if you want to break down why they left into its simplest form, I think all of the athletes came there to participate. And I think that's what they had in their mind. I'm there to participate, whether it's to win or get on podium, but they went there, and those were the thoughts in their head. And then this other thought entered Jeff and Laura's head. I don't know what the thought is, but that thought stopped them from the participating.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's I think that's part of the CrossFit Games is to win the CrossFit Games is you have to push through all the thoughts.
Yeah,
and they weren't able to.
And everybody has those thoughts. I don't care what anyone says.
And they weren't able to push through those thoughts. I don't. Tons of people have pulled out over the years. We've seen Annie pull out, but for whatever reason, fair enough. Lazar died. They didn't. Whatever thought that they had enter caused them to pull out. That's it.
Yeah. We have this conversation I actually have had this conversation with like a lot of the new guys at work. Like when they come there, I try to be as open as possible and say, hey, this job is not for everyone. If it's not for you, then you can leave. And it's not like, I'm not trying to take a dig at them like, oh no, you're not tough enough, you can't handle it. Like, no, the way your brain wires this stuff together, you can't handle it. You actually cannot handle it. And that's fine. It's just not for everyone. Like, it's just certain people handle stuff differently. And like, like whatever happened with Laura, who knows? Like, it just the way that she didn't sit well with her. She didn't feel like she wanted to continue. So she pulled out. So, and other people felt like they wanted to stay, and they wanted to stay. Like, it's just different people handle it in different ways.
Well, my distinction is some people would say they stuck to their values. They stuck to their morals. And what I'm saying is that's the 50,000 foot view. The 100,000 foot view is you had a thought.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? It's still a thought. And that thought came in. Maybe it came in as a moral. Maybe it came in as a value. But like the fact that I don't fucking tolerate pedophiles, I can call it morals and values all day. But before it's morals and values, I fucking thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caller, hi. Hello. Bring us home, caller. 469. Want me to give out your phone number on the air? Oh, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry about that. I think it's raining over here, so my connection's kind of poor. I'm sorry. But Angelo, I was gonna kind of piggyback on what you said. I'm also as well. So
you're also what?
I've kind of been in this a fireman, firefighter.
Okay.
So I've had to have a lot of similar conversations with guys coming into the fire service, and first I do for that because it's always good to be an advocate and a teacher, because a lot of people I think want to get into some form of service and they really don't know what that looks like. They have an idea of what they think it is and they really aren't cut out for it to begin with. And thank you for doing that. I think that what you said and kind of what you even talked about as well, Sam, is everybody else processes emotions and life situations a little bit differently than others. And that despite all the things that you've seen in regards to Lazar's death with all the podcasts and all the shit talking and all the back and forth and like hearing one story and then hearing this and like a lot of like misconstrued information, is like you're getting so many different examples of how people process emotions differently. But I think in the case of Noah, you're looking at somebody who is just very loud and very vocal. If you look at his media, he's always the person to post when something big happens in the community. He's got a very following. A lot of people listen to him. He's respected in the community, which he seems like a great dude. But sometimes, like, if we all know Noah, like I'm sure you all do from an athlete perspective, from a fan perspective, like he's a very emotional dude. And I just think that there's a certain type of person that needs to be in the PFAA. And I'm not trying to stir the pot or, talk shit about Noah, but I think that, Noah being that emotionally loud person would be a good fit for the community. And from a leadership perspective, you have to have somebody like Marco is, who's grounded, who can be open and listen and see both sides, but at the same time, like he's not going to be overly emotional and, let his own emotions or his own beliefs, affect or influence, his actions or his decisions. That's really what the PFAA needs to look into, as far as like if they have any additions, are people like yourself who are very level-headed, who see both sides, who are willing to listen to both sides, but who are able to process those emotions and deal with those hard times, conversations, to be able to get CrossFit headed in a better direction.
Cool. Thank you, dude. Thank you for your service. Ciao. How are you guys on time?
I'm great.
Fine.
Okay, let me ask you this. So I spoke to an athlete, spoke to shitloads of athletes back there, and one of the athletes told me, just in candidly, that they post what they think that they're supposed to post, that what people want to see. I couldn't fucking believe that actually came out of their fucking mouth.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, I don't know if it's Hiller, but they slapped me around and they're basically like, what are you, fucking retarded? That's how they fucking all are.
I definitely do not post what people want me to post.
But do you think that that's accurate? Do you think that there's a handful of people out there, like you reach a certain level, you cross over the threshold of 500,000 followers, and you're trying to manage the herd instead of be yourself? And that's why people don't want to use their influence, because they're
different for like someone like me and Angelo, where we just set our camera up and we take our videos of our lifts or our gymnastics or something like that. Like,
yeah,
if I had a camera person that followed me around, but like, if I did have someone like that, I would want to show more like authenticity of like getting people their first muscle up, like training with people on Sundays and an affiliate, like more of like that stuff. But like, it's the stuff that I'm passionate about is just hard to capture for me. I mean, that's just speaking on for me. It's just more challenging to do and to like set a camera up and do that. Like, that's just hard.
Like, here's the thing. Let's say Noah went hunting and he shot a bear. There's no fucking way he's posting it. And I apologize, Noah, if I'm mischaracterizing you, but I feel pretty confident about that.
I don't think a lot of people would.
Well, right. But Rich did it and it culled the herd, right? It's basically like,
yeah, he lost 50, I think he lost 50,000 followers in a day.
But if he wanted to keep those followers, he would have shown himself like setting a bear free out of a bear trap.
Yeah, I don't know who said this to Rich, but it's like, when you post more stuff about, you're going to piss off. I mean, everyone knows this. You're going to piss off about 50%, and 50% is going to love you. And you'd rather just have that 50% love you, like, absolutely love you.
What is your percent of followers that like your stuff? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You could have 100,000 followers and get 600 likes. I've been there. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you really posting the right stuff? Like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, even if that means picking a side or whatever that is, I think it's important to just be more authentic to who you are. But like, for me, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the stuff that I do, I don't like, it's more of my second nature to just go and do things like that. It's not a matter of like setting the camera up and do that. Like, if I had like, Savon, you're good with the camera, like, hey, come out for a weekend and like, come see what a day in the life is like, you would see a little more of that and you'd be able to post that kind of stuff. But like, in reality, like, that's not happening. You know what I mean? Like, it's just more challenging.
I was going down the line of, I think athletes who are trying to tend to the herd, they lose themselves.
Yeah.
And I think you see it in them. I think they're burdened by the fact that they're trying to make 750,000 people happy. And I think that's why they go crazy. That is why they go batshit crazy. I think it's like the core tenet of what causes social media mental illness. They're trying to fucking manage the fucking herd, and you cannot manage 1 million people. You cannot.
Do you think it's a money thing? Do you think it's a money thing or a popularity?
I think when you, not even either of those so nefarious. Just you don't. I mean, there's this point when I don't know for how old you guys were. I wasn't until I was 34. But you got to be like, fuck you to your parents. Like, no matter how great they are, you have to fucking tear the Band-Aid off. You know what I mean? You have to make like some sort of break that's different from a decision they would want you to make, and you're fucking free. You're on your own. You know what I mean? And I don't think most of the athletes have even come close to that place in their life. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you drop to one knee and you look up to the heavens and you say, God, why me? You know what I mean? Like that. And if you have, you know, that we were so lucky to have Rich as one of the early champions, because he had fucked up shit happen in his life, and fucking the Band-Aid had been torn off a couple times, and fucking, you know, he was clearly had looked up to the heavens and like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
But you get these athletes who've been doing CrossFit since they're 16, and they really do think that they are those followers. Like, they're legitimately confused.
Yeah.
And so I just think they're managing the herd, and then maybe it gets conflated with money, but they actually think they're trying to and dude, you'll go fucking nuts doing that.
Yeah.
What if is everyone going to find out you wipe from back to front and like, you know what I mean? Like, are you?
Yeah,
fucked?
I don't, but I don't,
You know
and I struggle with that so much because like, what, there's nothing, there's really nothing in it, you know, like at the end of the day, why, if you are more authentic, it ends up working out better. Like, if you're just blatantly authentic, like I said, you may not have that 500,000 or whatever followers. You may boil down to 100,000, but that 100,000 is going to be loyal. Like they like, you know, you attract the crowd that you should attract, the crowd that you really want. Like, you shouldn't just be like trying to look good to everybody, be appealing to everybody. Why would you not just want like a certain group of people that you agree with and they really like your stuff? Like, that's the people that's the people you're actually going to influence.
And the time when at Lazarus' death, that's the time. If you've drawn a box around yourself, you don't want that box around you because you want to be fucking free. I have a friend whose parents said to them, why haven't you posted anything about Lazarus' death? And my friend said, because I don't know, because I just haven't. I don't know what to post. And they're like, well, if you don't post something, what are people going to think? And I was like, holy fuck, your fucking mom told you that? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's anyway, that's part of the world we're in too, right? Like, we're getting mad at people who are posting stuff that they're just trying to keep their herd together, and it's not even really who they are. I mean, fuck, they don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys for coming on. What a treat.
Yeah, this was good.
What a treat. That wasn't what's the saying? That wasn't on my bingo card for 2024 a show with Angelo and Saxon. All right. You guys are the shit. Saxon, thank you for coming in and being so powerful, articulate.
Yeah.
Angelo, thank you for just being Angelo.
Oh, no problem.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Ciao. Are we you guys want to talk off stage, or are you guys going?
No, I'm good.
You're just leaving?
No. You want to talk? We can chat.
Okay, fine. We'll chat. Okay, because I was gonna kick you guys off, and then fuck it, I'll just kick everyone else up. Okay, guys. Love you guys. See you guys tomorrow morning. Andrea Wilson is a CrossFit Games competitor competing in San Antonio from September 19th to the 22nd. She will be on tomorrow morning. See you guys later. Bye bye.